I've been thinking about us lately. Specifically, how we talk to each other, online, in emails, face-to-face even, about the big issues. The ones that rend our interactions with micro tears and fissures, web our public discourse with division, even open hatred. It seems that everywhere you turn these days, there's someone yelling at you about how right they are. And since we've all seemingly abandoned the overarching structure built on fact to which we could appeal in our common quest for truth, all that's left is the yelling. And if we've lost the ability to discuss anything, how can we ever hope to solve any of our big collective problems? Take a look at our local county government. Now, you can watch the Norte County Board of Supervisors meetings online. Same as with the Crescent City Council. And, just as an aside, I'd like to go on record usage-wise with the proposal that we ditch the redundant cities in the phrase Crescent City City Council. Crescent City Council, it's just sleeker. But back to watching the meetings. The fun is at the county level. Most of the time, the 5-person board functions well, ensuring services, making payments. But if there is any room for disagreement, whether it's with cannabis or the airport or last chance grade or unauthorized use of the county seal, there's always a chance the exchanges will get heated, accusatory. Mix in the public comments, add some small-town political theatrics, and you end up with the common perception in Norte County that our government is, like America at large, dysfunctional. But this perception of dysfunction didn't stop a group of locals from going before the Board of Supervisors recently to ask for a pledge, in the form of a resolution from the board, to end homelessness in Del Norte. The group is comprised of ordinary citizens, a doctor, some retirees, a youth activist, and together they make up a local organizing committee, or LOC, on homelessness, convened by the True North Organizing Network. Now, we'll get into the who and what all that is in a bit. But for now, there are 2 key hit points I want to emphasize. The first is that they were asking the county to pledge to end homelessness, not manage or mitigate it, but to work in good faith with other stakeholders to end it in Del Norte County. And that last clause is the second and most important point, and key to the LOC's approach to the issue of homelessness, key also to how True North does community organizing, and maybe key to sort of resetting some of the processes and conventions we use to talk to each other about difficult subjects. Here's Mike Thornton, local community organizer for True North, from a recent interview on KFUG Community Radio about the work of the LOC and its methodology.
When it comes to dealing with things like this, the perspective that we try to have, and it's not that True North invented it, is no permanent allies, no permanent enemies. Mm-hmm. You know, we may vehemently disagree on 9 out of 10 things, but we agree on this one thing.
Yeah.
Let's work on that.
Yeah,
we can work together on that. We'll deal with the rest of it when we get to it. Mm-hmm. And I think that I had written a letter to the paper a while back, trying to express that sentiment, that we really need, as a society and as a community, to stop seeing each other as perpetual enemies, and start seeing each other as potential partners.
Yeah, we all live here.
Yeah, and it doesn't, this isn't like some naive call that we're going to, roast marshmallows over the fire and sing Kumbaya, but there are really important things in this community that we really do agree on, and that more often than not, the values that we all hold really aren't all that different from each other. I mean, sometimes they are, and when they are, they are.
Yeah.
But when they're not, and when we really can, if we would talk to each other as compared to talking at each other, I think we can actually more often than not come together and work on important issues and improve our community for all of us.
Can this approach work? Is it possible for any group of Americans these days to discuss anything without taking an ideological stance? Hi, I'm Paul Kritz, and you're listening to the Del Norter. In this episode, we take a seat at the table and examine just how a band of local citizens hopes to end homelessness in Del Norte, and how, just maybe, their approach could save us all. So, hyperbole aside, how exactly can a group of citizens go before our local governing bodies and ask for a buy-in on an issue as contentious as homelessness? So often, debating how to approach the problem ends up being more a debate on personal responsibility or the efficacy of the social safety net, which does nothing to address the real pain and distress suffered by a growing segment of our society. More reactionary voices in local government have often shared anecdotes of the homeless duping passers-by outside McDonald's or Walmart with stories of hunger, stories that fall apart when they're offered food instead of money. It's the old welfare mom strophe made famous by Ronald Reagan, and it's as tired as it is dishonest. It denies the very reality of the problem it is meant to address. Over the last few years, I've noticed a modulation of the discourse concerning homelessness in Del Norte. Even those reactionary voices, and let's be forthright here. By reactionary voices, I mean Supervisor Roger Gitlin. Even he, has said some pretty open-minded things about the folks living on the margins of our community, starting with assigning a cause to the current homelessness crisis in California. Here's Supervisor Gitlin from a recent interview on KFUG Community Radio.
Then you have to look back in the reasons. And again, I'm a little older than you, so I'm going to give you a little bit of history, which you probably already know, is where did this systemic homeless problem come from in the beginning?
Closing of the mental hospitals in the 1960s and 70s in California.
That's pretty good. I'm impressed, Paul Kritz. Well, it's actually Governor Reagan. Mm-hmm. Governor Reagan. Who are you talking about, the president? Yes, I'm talking about the president. Governor Reagan, when he was governor from 1966 to 74, by federal court order, Supreme Court order, closed the mental health hospitals. Mm-hmm. I think there were 8 or 9 of them in the state then. And he says, these folks are going home to their families. That lasted about 10 minutes. Mm-hmm. And that's your first generation of systemic homelessness.
With this evolving understanding of homelessness in the background, the local organizing committee went before the Board of Supervisors and asked them to consider a resolution pledging to end homelessness. The board agreed by a vote of 5-0 to consider a draft resolution at their next meeting, and it was left for county staff to write the resolution with the help of the organizing committee. It was after this initial success before the board that I sat down with Mike Thornton on KFUG to delve more into the workings of the committee, its motivations and methodology.
Well, we've had a group that has been meeting for about 10 months. As you saw at the Board of Supervisors, we had some of the members of that group, Dr. Caldwell, Brittany Reimer, Jill Lapel, Mike Tompkins, who worked to put together the presentation. And
that wasn't the whole. That wasn't the whole.
Oh no,
group?
there's other people who have been involved, and some of them are out of town, and different people come at different times. But as on the whole, the group, the local organizing committee around homelessness here in Del Norte, has been meeting and doing research on homelessness, about what's happening here and not happening here, as well as other communities and what kind of innovative approaches and practices are being done. So we did all of that and came together on what our recommendation was to the board, which we made. We asked them to pass a resolution saying that ending homelessness, moving from trying to manage it to actually focusing on ending it, is a priority for the board, and asking them to engage actively in supporting a multi-stakeholder community-wide initiative in order to bring all of the stakeholders, including homeless people, to the table so we can craft sustainable solutions and work towards ending homelessness in our community.
Is that the key difference or the key change that you were seeking, is to focus the county on ending homelessness as opposed to managing it?
That's one of the keys. Okay. The other key, of course, is really committing to a strategic, community-wide, innovative process, multi-stakeholder group, where we will actually have, and the role that True North will play in this is we will happily act as the convener. We don't want to make decisions for the community. The community needs to do that for itself. But what we'll do is we'll work to hold down the table where people can meet, and then work to keep people at the table when folks might start slipping away, or because it's going to be, at times, it's going to be a difficult process because people come at this with their own ideas and their own ideologies and their own perspectives, and so we're gonna be working that out together. And sometimes it'll be messy, and other times it'll be smooth. And the main thing is to keep working together so we come up with solutions that will really address the problem with the big prophetic goal of ending homelessness, as compared to just trying to figure out a way to manage it, and so it's not so bad.
Just who are the people involved in the local organizing committee, and why are they working to end homelessness? As a fan of civic engagement, I decided to find out, so one Thursday evening, I attended a committee meeting at the Methodist Church in Crescent City. Turns out the group is a true cross-section of Del Norte, young and old, left and right. They let me hijack some of their time to ask them about their concerns and motivations. Here's committee member Jill Lapel.
I got involved because I'm a Baha'i, and we had the 200th anniversary, and Michael Thornton came and said, I didn't know there were Baha'is here. Baha'is like to do service and work for the betterment of the society. We believe that all people are family, one family, and so it's an important thing. Now, when I first came up north here, I was driving from McKinleyville in Humboldt County to Crescent City nearly every day because there was no housing, no affordable housing. I mean, it was ridiculous, or safe, affordable housing. So I put my name down at Seaward Village because I thought it was quite a nice spot. And I waited for 10 months. It's how long it took before my name to get to the top of the list. So obviously affordable housing is a major problem. Also, there's a lot of homeless people living in all the forests around Seaward Village. And in the beginning I thought, this is not very nice. But then I realized after I did some investigation, and I found out that there was absolutely nowhere for homeless to go, no affordable housing. I knew what troubles I had. And I got to meet Mike and decided to work for the betterment of the community. That's how I got involved.
Others in the group, like retired Dr. Bob Sankis, see homelessness as more of a public policy issue replete with fiscal and public health concerns. In Bob's case, these logical concerns are laced with exasperation at the seeming lack of political will in the fight against homelessness.
I'm very disappointed in the leadership in this community. The Board of Supervisors has known about this for years. I've gone to meetings at the VA for the PTSD group that's been discussed, the homelessness. And this has been going on for 3 years. They've been talking about. Dave Finnegan was there talking about 3 years ago. Nothing's been accomplished. These are supposed to be the leaders of the community. What are they doing? They're doing nothing. Now, why does a group of people like us have to get together to prod them? I don't know. There's many aspects of this. I think one big aspect is the financial aspect of this. Now, San Francisco, I heard a few months ago, was spending $30 million a year to clean up pee and poo on the roads. Now, the last one on Google I picked up, this has gone, they're taking care of people, homelessness, health care for them, and that kind of thing. This amount of money they spend yearly is $300 million for a homeless situation. Now, that's ridiculous. About 2 months ago, there were reported 22 deaths from hepatitis A, which is a communicable disease that people that are homeless will have quite often. There have been 500 hospitalizations for this. That's a lot of money that probably shouldn't have to be spent. This started in San Diego, it went up to LA, San Francisco, the Bay Area, and over in Sacramento. This is spreading, and you can get hepatitis A very, very easily. It's not that hard to contract. And what are these people doing about it? Nothing. For 4 years, I know they've been doing nothing. It's time to get them to get off their butt and do something.
Dr. Kevin Caldwell is one of Del Norte's most accomplished crusaders, most notably fighting for better health care in our rural, out-of-the-way community. As part of the group, Dr. Caldwell sees a real opportunity to address an issue that has only grown in the decades he's lived in Del Norte.
I've been here 3.5 decades and have a long history of accomplishments in making this community a better place, and very dedicated to that. And at this point in my life, I look at the homelessness as being a huge problem. And I started a few years back saying, what can I do to get involved in this? And I'd heard of this Coates group, but by the time I caught up with them, they had dissolved. And so then I heard about this group. So then I came in one day and showed up and been here ever since.
That's interesting. So in the 3.5 decades, then a very marked change in the amount of homeless in Del Norte County?
Yeah, but you didn't used to even notice it. And now, I think 3.5 decades ago, my wife and I moved here. We had no family, no friends, knew nobody here. Now we have 3 generations of family and growing, innumerable friends, and we had thriving business. We love it here, it's home. And I look at homelessness as a festering wound on our community, and it just doesn't make life better for any of us. And it would make life better if we could get rid of it.
True North's MO, as explained by Mike Thornton, isn't just to get all the stakeholders to the table. It's also important to keep the process moving and alive. To that end, they have to plan for the future. Enter Sam Bradshaw, a 21-year-old community activist who just a few days before this interview started a job with True North. As a young person, Sam brings energy and earnestness to the group, but Sam will also be charged with bringing other young people to the group as well.
How long have you been working for True North now?
I started this Monday.
That's what I thought. So how's your first week been?
It's been good. I got big things I want to accomplish, but it takes little steps to get to them. I want to get youth at the table that are both homeless youth and youth that are not homeless, so that we could have a coalition so that the youth voice can really be heard here. And got various recruitment techniques, like advertising the meeting time and place on social media and even flyers. And now that school's going to be back in, going to the schools.
True North, Sam's employer, is part of the Building Healthy Communities initiative and is funded mostly by the California Endowment. Philosophically, it draws on something called the PICO model of community organizing. PICO stands for People Improving Communities Through Organizing, a progressive national organizing network that started out in Oakland, California in the 70s as a more faith-based organization. PICO, in turn, took much of its inspiration from the work of the stalwart Chicago organizer Saul Alinsky, who started out in the 30s organizing Upton Sinclair's Jungle. But before we get into a thumbnail sketch of progressive community action in the U.S., suffice it to say True North, via Alinsky and PICO, comes by its methodology honestly. And it's that methodology that just might be the key. Here's Dr. Caldwell again.
I've been working with community organizing long before they called it True North. This came with Building Healthy Communities, and I'm very much involved with that. And so over the last 8-9 years, I've seen that True North PICO model work very well in many other ways. So I think a lot of it's going to be, now that we got the city and county's attention, we're going to let the model move forward.
The PICO model starts with one person. Then that person talks to another person, and so on until a sort of critical mass is achieved, a local organizing committee. Then that committee approaches ever larger groups and entities seeking buy-in. And here's the thing. Even people who you might not think of as allies become part of the community-wide effort. Why? Because for any success to be had in organizing a community to address a specific issue, as many voices as possible need to be heard and folded into the solution, whatever that may be. And certainly one of those other voices at the table will need to be County Supervisor Roger Gitlin. Roger's often spoken out about homelessness in Del Norte, and often his diatribes have made me wince. I don't want to try to characterize his stance. It would amount to putting words in his mouth. But I will say he has seemed to me to be more about getting the homeless off the streets and out of sight than about really helping them. That's just my opinion. And I've often been pleasantly surprised by his more humane pronouncements. But still, well, here's Roger on KFUG after the Board of Supervisors passed True North's resolution. Do you see that as just another resolution, or is that actually an avenue that you're willing to go down and explore?
Well, first of all, I see it as another resolution, but I support it. There's a little bit, we're going to put some words, some actions behind these words. I know Kevin Caldwell very well, and I know the folks who are there. They have good hearts and good intentions, and I support that. But and by the way, the same resolution was passed by the city, which was the other night, and they passed a similar. But they're words. They're just words until we put into action real therapy, real systemic intervention. And that comes back to the same thing I said before, is there has to be some mandates, some compulsory mandate to say, excuse me, sir, we see you're in, we want to take you out and get you a hot shower and hot bath or a clean meal. And someone who is clearly deficient, mentally ill, or on drug or alcohol addiction, he doesn't have clear thought. He says, no, don't leave me alone. I don't want you to bother me. And then that's respected. And I think a sign of a real compassionate community, of which I consider myself part of that, says we need to help you in spite of yourself. And that's the key thing to making this success. So I'm saying this, and I've said this before, that words are fine, but I'd like this to be more than just words, Paul. And the words are soon forgotten. Oh, another resolution which has no teeth to it. I'd like to actually see us help these people.
Yeah, well, whether they want it or not. But still, Roger, under the PICO model, has a seat at the table. And so does Mayor Pro Tem Heidi Keim. A couple of weeks after the supervisors passed the resolution, the city council followed suit. Here's the vote, and a wonderful little vignette that illustrates the difference between the often confrontational supervisors' meetings and the more down-to-earth city council. The clip begins with the end of a reading of the resolution by council member Alex Fallman, then continues with Mayor Blake Inscore.
And now, therefore, be it resolved that the City Council of the City of Crescent City hereby declare that ending homelessness in Crescent City is a priority. And be it further resolved that the City Council of the City of Crescent City commits to actively supporting and participating in a community-wide initiative to end homelessness in Crescent City. Passed and adopted, made effective the same day by the City Council of the City of Crescent City on this 4th day of September 2018.
All right. And we do appreciate those of you who were able to come back this evening and be here for the presentation. And would certainly give anybody that would like to have a couple minutes to respond to this an opportunity to do so before we move on with our agenda tonight. Yes. Dr. Caldwell.
Thank you. I'm Kevin Caldwell. Thank you very much for this. I'm very optimistic now that we have your unanimous vote, we have the county supervisor's unanimous vote, and you're going to see some things happening coming quickly. So stay tuned.
All right, very good. Thank you. Now we're going to give you that unanimous vote, we hope, because just as a point of order, I didn't actually ask her to poll the vote yet. Should have probably done that, because somebody's going to look kind of silly if this is not unanimous now. No pressure. So, would you please poll the vote?
Mayor, could I please ask for a first and a second?
I move that we adopt Resolution 2018-51.
Second.
There we go. Get me back in line. Thank you, everyone.
Councilmember Greeno?
Yes.
Councilmember Short?
Yes.
Councilmember Fallman?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Keim?
Yes.
And Mayor Inscore?
Yes. Now we can. Thank you, everyone. And we very much look forward to continuing this dialogue and working together as a community, because we know that that's exactly the means by which to accomplish anything that's going to be lasting. Okay, we are going to then go back to our agenda, and we're...
Heidi Keim is Mayor Pro Tem as well as a business person in Crescent City's downtown district. As such, she works every day where the rubber meets the road regarding the homeless in Del Norte. I sat down with Heidi after the vote to get her perspective on the resolution and homelessness in general.
So I appreciated their presentation. I like that they're brainstorming about transitional housing, because I think there's a lot of people that choose to be homeless, and I don't think we're going to tackle that. That's a societal issue that our country I think cities where, the weather isn't half bad. You know what I mean? You're not freezing cold. You have less homeless in Milwaukee in December.
Sure.
You know what I mean? But we have a real societal problem with homelessness, and I think a lot of people choose homelessness. My husband was part of the VFW, and they went and they spoke with veterans and said, "We'll get you a place to stay, but you have to sign up for the VA and get registered." Nope, they didn't want to have anything to do with it. Okay, all right, that's their choice. And as sad as that is, it's frustrating when you want to help people that don't necessarily want to accept it. So I like the idea of this transitional housing for the people that are actually going to accept the help. I don't want to see people putting a whole lot of effort into people that aren't going to help themselves as well. And that's what frustrates me terribly, because I don't like throwing money at things and thinking that will solve the problem.
I asked Heidi if she would commit to being one of the voices at the table involved in the process of ending homelessness.
I would absolutely commit myself to being one of those at the table to work towards getting those that want the help, get them moving in the right direction. Personally, I would help as well. Being a commercial property owner, I've got people sleeping on my loading dock. Most of them are very nice when you say, "Good morning, it's gotta go, time to get up and get to work." And there's only a couple of times when they haven't really been very nice. And sometimes there's a giant bottle of vodka that they've mostly had, and so I've taken them a cup of coffee. Come on. I'll give you 15 minutes. Get it together. Come on. People are work is starting. People are coming in. We can't have you laying around the loading dock. And like I said, most of the time everybody's been very nice.
So True North and the local organizing committee has gotten both the Board of Supervisors and the City Council to pledge unanimously to actively work toward ending homelessness in Del Norte County. What's next? Again, here's Mike Thornton.
Well, as some people know, we have now gotten unanimous passage of the resolutions regarding homelessness by both the Board of Supervisors and the City Council, which was our initial step in doing this, to get buy-in from the two major elected bodies. So now what we're working on is doing an op-ed open letter to the community, which we'll be working on this evening and over the next couple of days, then to publish that, to let people know where we've come to with our vision and our mission and our values. And then we will be inviting the public to come to a forum on homelessness, which we think probably be about a month or so away. And then from there, we'll work to start moving into actually building the initiative and bringing the stakeholders together to begin to work on this really serious endeavor of ending homelessness in Del Norte.
That forum will happen October 10th at the Episcopal Church in Crescent City. After that, the real work begins, getting everybody at the table to actually follow through in good faith and end homelessness in Del Norte County. For Mike Thornton, the key is allowing everyone to be heard.
That's the thing. If you're really going to try to build a community-wide initiative, I mean, it has to be, all points of view. And I mean, one of the most interesting things about all of this is one of the people who has been most supportive of the work we've been doing is Donna Westfall. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think most people would say that if you kind of generally looked at, True North and people that True North have been involved in, and if you sort of generally looked at people that Donna Westfall and Crescent City Times have been involved with, you'd say, my gosh, how would they work together on anything? But we all care about this issue of homelessness. And so, there is the saying is no permanent allies, no permanent enemies. And so we can disagree on 9 out of 10 things, fine. But we do agree on this. So let's find ways to work together. And it's the same thing is true with Supervisors Gitlin, Berkowitz, Howard, Cowan, Hemmingson, everybody on the city council. We may disagree on many different things, but if we all agree on the fact that we need to do something about homelessness in our community, well, that's a good opportunity to work together and maybe a model for working together on other issues that are important to the community and really beginning to not always be talking about and seeing each other as perpetual enemies, but really beginning to talk about each other and see each other as potential partners.
It's an issue of uplifting human dignity, and that shouldn't be controversial.
Well, there it is, as voiced by the youngest person in the room. Is it really that simple? And can we really expect all the people at the table, all the voices with their myriad perspectives and prejudices and agendas to play nice, to listen, to compromise, to not yell at each other? I really, really very much hope so. And not just because homelessness is a growing concern, but also because in this age, with the breakdown of public discourse, the insane influence of antisocial media, the mounting barricades of ideology over which we shake our fists at each other, the ability to treat each other with respect and to listen and truly hear what the other is saying may be just what's needed to save our country. Is it really that simple? You've been listening to The Del Norter, a production of KFUG Community Radio. Thanks to Mike Thornton, Roger Gitlin, Heidi Kime, Sam Bradshaw, Jill Lapel, Doctors Bob Sankus, and Kevin Caldwell. If you'd like to learn more about True North, you can do so at the website truenorthorganizing.org. You can also contact True North and Mike Thornton via Facebook. All rights reserved, post no bills, God bless this ship and all who sail on her. I'm Paul Kritz. Until next time.